Do 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 do. The Dead is a 2011 film made in West Africa by two British brothers named Howard J. Ford and John Ford. This movie came on my radar a few days ago, so I gave it a watch and it skyrocketed towards the top of my zombie movie list. I'm Achilles, and this is I Hate Media. Let's talk about The Dead. We're going to start off with a short summary slash short analysis of the film's plot, the world it inhabits, so if you wish to blindly see the movie, I recommend you do that now. And if you want just a quicker, spoiler-free review, skip to the time on the screen within 5 seconds. I'll get you in and out in about 3 minutes.
Hey, it's me, the editor, also Achilles. I'm here to say it's 5:45 in the morning, and I apologize if this next effect is a little cheesy. I'm doing my best here. The copyright is absolutely like, if copyright's Mike Tyson, I'm an elderly lady who is starting a fight with Mike Tyson. It is just beating my ass. Bear with me. I'll do it better next time. It is getting late.
The movie starts with our main character in what is one of my absolute favorite zombie apocalypse outfits. I mean, just look at that. It's amazing. And they absolutely showcase the beautiful cinematography on a film camera, and it's constant throughout the movie. A large reason I like it so much is just how good it looks. Shortly after this, we see a classic Romero-style zombie. He's shambling towards our main character very slowly. I'll bring up slow zombies in a bit because I know it's kind of a hot button issue in the zombie community about how unrealistic it seems for them to take over the world, but trust me, stick around. I'll address this at a later scene and I'll give you my full thought process on like how I think that this could happen or how I think it works. He goes over the hill and he sees another shambler and he just takes him out with one to the head, loots him for supplies, looks like he gets some ammo, stuff like that. And then we are met with the title card and a flashback to the beginning of our character's story. So we start on this plane, looks like there's an evacuation plan, someone's on the ground infected, it's all sorts of hectic, crazy. It's apparent that the plane is not going to be able to make it much farther and they're going down. But not before the infected man takes a bite out of someone, really just because this woman would not let this guy shoot him. Like, completely her fault that this other guy dies, and he has to just go out. He takes himself out. Her fault. So our main character starts watching, people brace for impact, and then we get a cool scene as the airplane flies overhead of a village being overrun by the undead. The military and the people are being turned, they're getting eaten all over the place. There's a scene of a family hiding, and the mother ultimately gets bitten, and soon you'll see why this is important plot. And the boy escapes with the military. I like this village scene a lot. It actually has some surprisingly really good gore work. And I mean, have I mentioned the film camera on this fire? Just phenomenal. Just take gander upon. So now we're back with our main character. This is pretty shortly after the plane crashes. Looks like it hit the ocean right off the coast. He's clinging to debris and he tries to save this passenger and he doesn't do it. Can't get to her. Can't save anyone. Looks like he's the last one alive, so clings to this box and darkness slowly turns to dawn. We get some more of these phenomenal landscape shots as our guy stumbles onto the beach. He's quickly noticing that a horde of shamblers comes towards him. There's another survivor on the beach. The guy, he's a huge dick. He just gets up and leaves. So he blasts a zombie in the face before he does and does not even turn around to check on our guy. Not a single thing. And then it's pretty intense as our main guy is trying to open this box and get whatever's inside that's going to save him from these zombies. He's getting there. There's another half-dead survivor. He becomes fully dead. Soon he's going to be not dead at all. Struggles more with the rock. This legless zombie comes at him. He opens it just in time to find a pistol. He puts down the zombies before it reaches him. Looks like he goes through the rest of the box and then he gets to the tree line. So now we're back at that village where the attack took place earlier. And we made a new character named Daniel. He's in military attire and he's checking out this village. So Daniel finds this shattered picture of the family, the one that we saw in the scene earlier. And at the same time, our engineer is looking at a photo of his family. This is kind of setting up the story, like letting you know what their motivation is. So now we're back with Daniel, and he's talking to an old woman, who I believe is his mother. She looks like she's either infected or dying in any way. And she informs him that his son escaped with the military and is at a base to the north. This starts Daniel's quest to head north and sets him on his way, but just before he puts her out of her misery. Our engineer finds himself at a house with an old truck out front, so he gets to putting this truck back together and get it starting so he can drive it around. He's got to reattach the fuel line, add gas, put a tire on. Oh, well, zombies are kind of shambling around. He doesn't know if they see him or not yet. I think this is a good point where I'm going to kind of jump into my hypothetical on why I believe that walking zombies are actually a pretty big threat, contrary to what most people would believe. In opposition to how everyone says that slow-moving zombies would be too slow to actually get anyone, and even more so, take over the world, I would have to say that they're wrong for a few reasons. Now, number one is with these type of zombies, it always seems like they have somewhat heightened awareness, whether it be hearing or smelling. And with that, they never get tired. That's the thing that a lot of people kind of forget. Like, they just never get tired. It's like kind of like you've heard that thing where you get to be immortal, but a snail chases you around. That's these zombies. It doesn't matter when it is. You're going to get comfortable because they're so easy to kill. 15 years down the road, I wouldn't say it's unrealistic for a seasoned survivor to not check something and get bit by a slow-moving zombie. I would say that would be the standard, where people would... There's no way you can expect someone to be on the 100% utmost amount of awareness every single day, every minute for 15 years. There's no way. People slip up. And then how does it start? Well, quite naturally, people that are watching this video, we're in a minority. If it gets to a majority of the population, they are not going to say, this is a zombie, I need to kill them. They're going to say, oh, why is my cousin acting this way? And they're going to get close, and then they get bit, and then that happens, and then it's, well, I'm going to call the police, and then in the time that takes for the police to arrive, you got more zombies. I see a domino effect of people, and especially in the very beginning of an apocalypse like this, getting really close to people who have been infected and getting infected themselves, because human nature does not say, this person is for sure a zombie, kill them. It says, this person looks sick, we should take care of them. Human nature will absolutely be the downfall in an apocalypse like this. The other thing with them is, if you die in any way, you come back. All it takes is for you to get comfortable with someone, and then they die of natural causes, and there's another zombie outbreak because a whole household got infected, and they start infecting other households. That's just kind of my thoughts on it, how I see a slow-moving zombie apocalypse happening, but zombies are all hypothetical, and I would love to hear if anyone else has any opinions, or let me know what your dream apocalypse is. Tell me your dream apocalypse in the comments, and let's talk about it. Alright, let's get back to this movie now. We're back at another landscape scene, and here is another thing I absolutely love about this movie, and it is the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack is so good. There's a song that plays every once in a while, and it's... just listen to it. Like, I'm gonna give you like 15 seconds alone with this song. Process any emotions you need to. Now we're back at the truck, and he's just about got this tire on when he notices a zombie, like, literally right next to him, and he's got to put it down with his pistol. This pistol shot alerts the larger surrounding horde of shamblers, and they just start walking towards him. So he's barely got it going when one gets close to the window. I really think he only got 2 lug nuts on this tire, but it's never addressed, so I'm gonna assume he got the rest on at some point. Regardless, he's off, and we get more of this song. The song. There's a quick shot of the guy who abandoned the engineer, and he's dealt his sweet revenge. Twice. We're gonna have to blur the second one out. A little further down the road, the truck gets stuck on some rocks and just refuses to get unstuck, so the engineer's gotta hop out and push this thing out. He's quickly swarmed by a bunch of zombies, and this lets him finally meet our other friend from earlier, Daniel. Now I gotta point out that this is a 7.62mm Kalashnikov AK-47. There is about a 0% chance that this bullet does not go through the first head and also into the engineers. 0% chance. The two get in their truck and they begin their merry quest, and we finally get to learn the engineer's name. It is Brian Murphy. He is actually the same guy who played Private Ryan's son towards the end of Saving Private Ryan. So now we're getting the main plot of the story. Brian wants to get to the airfield to potentially fix an airplane and get back to his family. Daniel is going to show him how to get there in exchange for the truck. He's going to take the truck and go north and find his son, the kid that escaped with the military from earlier. So now we get shown a military convoy driving through the wilderness, just gunning down zombies, saving survivors, gunning down survivors, anything they can do to slow this infection. We also get a clip of the young boy, Daniel's son, in the back of the truck. He's holding an AK-47 as well. I don't ever get to see him shoot it, but he has one in his hand, so there it is. Next, we get Daniel and Brian. They stop at a collection of shacks. I did like this little part here. Daniel and Brian have silent hand signals for communicating, and they've been together for a short time, so that's pretty cool that they set it up in that short time. But then again, there's a jump scare a few seconds later, and it almost makes me think it's better to make a lot of noise and draw the zombies out where you can actually see them. But I don't know, I guess that would be like a preference thing, if you like getting jump scared. But the atmosphere in the scene is phenomenal. Brian finds some medicine, which may or may not be important later, and Daniel grabs a chicken to eat later. Literally just, he grabs that chicken. It's his. A little bit later, Brian makes a Carmageddon reference, and then they decide to park the car, continue the airfield on foot. It's not very far, it doesn't seem like, but he's also like, are we gonna make it there? And he says, if God is with us, so that doesn't sound too promising, but anyway, they left the truck there and they decided to walk. Best guess is they could be maybe conserving the radiator. I don't know. Once again, I don't know why I'm so focused on it. But Brian eventually finds an airplane that's beyond repair, so he heads into the main building and looks for pretty much anything else that will help him leave this area. He finds this radio, asks around, but he gets no response and decides to leave. I kind of like this part where he starts to give out his coordinates and he just gives up halfway through. So walks outside. Daniel gives him a little speech about staying alive and taking tasks that are at hand, and this sways Brian into staying and helping Daniel find his son. They begin to carry this large fuel canister back to the truck, and we get a great shot of a zombie in front of the setting sun. Really like this shot. Brian and Daniel make it back to the truck, put fuel in it, and zombies start to creep up around them. I would like to point out this little bit. You generally hear very, very little sound from the zombies in this movie, so creeping up on people like this is really believable, and you also find out that Daniel is about it. They continue their way. We find that everyone is low on food, water, and ammo. Another Carmageddon reference. Daniel takes the wheel. That's probably a best choice. Daniel starts driving through the night. We get more of that soundtrack, and I mean, more shots. I just can't get over how fine the camera work film is. Like, the camera work in this film is so good. I'm gonna change my name from I Hate Media to I Love the Camera Work in The Dead from 2011. Maybe not that exactly, but something along those lines. Anyway, Daniel and Brian, they eventually arrive at a village. It's not overrun yet, and it looks like it's occupied by people. They kind of come off tough, like something's going to happen, but they actually turn out to be super welcoming. And they're like, oh, we need water. And they're like, oh, come on in. We got you. All the soldiers, there was a war going on, like a civil war, and everyone left the military to come back and defend their home, which is pretty neat. Cool scene of the witch doctor. Daniel has a nice fireside chat with the leader. And finally, Brian, this here is where I said that the medicine might be important. How he grabs this earlier, and Daniel's been talking about how he's sick. He has a fever. And I don't know if he's taking this morphine because he, is sick, or if he has an overarching addiction to morphine and that's what's causing him sick. They literally never bring it up again, so if you have any idea, let me know in the comments. I would like to hear any ideas, but I personally think that he has a drug addiction. There's also this dream scene right after where Brian makes it home, and I'm not really sure why, but I definitely thought that he was a milkman for the first 5 seconds until I realized it was a military uniform. That's just kind of weird. Daniel ends up asking the leader if he wants to head north with him, but the leader refuses, saying that he was born in the village and he'll die in the village. Everyone else feels the same way. And after they're on the road for a bit, we get our first bit of conflict between Daniel and Brian, as Brian sees that the radiator's out of fluid and he wants to use the water to fill it up. Daniel thinks that they are going to need the water more and that they should just walk. Now, Brian ends up being right. As they fill the radiator with water, the engine turns and they find water again shortly after. But this is our first bit of conflict between these two. It seems like they spend a few hours at this water pump before they end up getting back on the road, and the sun goes down. Alright, the truck axle ends up breaking, and we're met with the second conflict between Daniel and Brian. So they're sitting there, the truck is not going to move, and Daniel is basically begging Brian to turn the lights on, so that way they can actually see if anything's going to creep up on him. Brian is adamant in keeping the lights off because he believes that the light will draw any zombies towards them. Now, in this conflict, Daniel ends up being right because after he yells, "Turn the lights on," he turns the lights on and they are surrounded. They were definitely going to sneak up on them. Good call by Daniel. They narrowly escape this truck and they have to take a few of these shamblers down and continue the journey on foot. So after a while, finally, they decide to put a chance on a fire, cook that chicken. I mean, I really hope that Daniel cleaned that chicken as soon as he grabbed it, because I think that was 2 days ago. Daniel tells Brian about his necklace around the fire, and they head off to sleep after they set up some tin can noise traps. And now, here is the most shocking part of the movie. The soundtrack goes off, but they don't wake up, and Daniel gets fucking eaten. Daniel dies. Daniel's done for. I completely thought Daniel and Brian were going to end up fighting each other before either of them died, and it would be the classic, oh, main guy gets tackled and saved at the last second, but no, he gets bitten, and then bitten, and then bitten, and then bitten again. I'm giving this movie a free McDouble coupon from McDonald's for actually surprising me. Ford Brothers, if you're watching this, come claim that McDouble coupon within the next week, because it expires in a month and you want to get it. Actually, you deserve it. So Brian carries Daniel through the rest of the night, and then by dawn sets Daniel down, promises to find his son. Daniel says, "Don't allow my soul to wander the earth." And Daniel stands up. This is open for interpretation. You see Brian aim the gun at Daniel. You never see his finger pull the trigger. He says, "I'm sorry, Daniel," and then he walks away. You hear a gun point at some point, but not in sync with when he would have pulled the trigger. The camera cuts before you could possibly see Daniel get up, and I mean, wow. What do you think? Do you think that Brian killed Daniel, or do you think he left him there because he couldn't do it? I have no idea. I love this part of the movie so much. So much. Now we cut to Brian alone, and he's arriving at the start of the mountains that lead to the desert. So he's got to get to these mountains, climb over them, get to the desert, and then he'll find the base in the north. So at this point, I would say the apocalypse is visibly taking its toll on him. He appears more tired and distracted than he did before, and a little down the road, he meets a wounded mother with a baby in her arms. She basically just throws this baby in Brian's arms and begs him to kill her. And I don't speak what she says, but I assume it's saying, "Please, for the love of God, kill me before I get eaten alive." So Brian takes the baby, puts the mom down, which I mean also could mean that he did it to Daniel if he had no problem doing it there. But thankfully, Brian runs across a van of survivors and quickly hands the baby over. Because I mean, honestly, that just spared us from numerous baby in the apocalypse scenes that I am absolutely sick of in this genre. Like, it's just not original to me at this point. I could go without babies in the apocalypse. Very annoying. Brian decides to camp in the tree for the night, and he sleeps on a tree branch because, you know, last time Daniel got eaten. And he ends up dropping his AK, and it almost causes a problem, but not really. Seems to be pretty comfortable. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. Pretty cool bed. We have made it to another morning, and Brian finally reaches this mountain that he has to climb. Narrowly escapes a group of shamblers, which is terrible. I think I found a new fear. I mean, I would rather have sharp, jagged rocks under me than, like, hungry zombies just fall and get eaten alive. New fear unlocked. But anyway, more cool landscape shots, and Brian parkours across these mountains. Reaches the desert, and he quickly finds that badass outfit from earlier. I mean, he found it on a corpse that was moving. Is it stealing? Would you call this stealing? grave robbing. I don't know, I'm moving on. Now we get a quick summary of the events from the beginning of the movie, and after looting that military zombie, he continues to walk north until he nearly collapses just over the hill from this military base he has been trying to reach. He has finally made it. The only thing between him and this base are a small horde of zombies. I wouldn't really say small, a horde of zombies. But we get to see him go crazy on a few of them, and then he gets to the fence and jumps right over. And this is my favorite scene in the entire movie. Just, here it is. Now talk about having that BDE. But anyway, these people are letting Brian know that things are actually not going so well inside of here. They're running low on ammo. There's more zombies showing up every day. It is not looking good. So Brian asks if they have a radio, in which they do. He repairs it and tries to contact the military base he was deployed from. He tries, and eventually he finally gets through to someone. We find out his name is Frank Greaves, and it is not the best time for old Brian to be calling. Frank informs him that there are absolutely no supplies, personnel, or anything that can be sent to him. The virus has reached the base. Not only that, but the sound of zombies in the background are the civilians from the base, including Brian's family. Zombies begin breaking down the wall of Brian's military base, and there's just no hope left at this point. Zombies begin eating civilians, breaking through the gate, but Brian sees a child. The same child from the village, and the same child that is the son of Daniel. We get a scene of these two exchanging Daniel's necklace, which Brian took from Daniel before he left. We get a nice little voiceover from Daniel, and Brian appears to have found some little source of hope that can potentially carry him through this apocalypse and the attack. And then the movie fades to black as they stare on at the zombies. That's the end of the movie. I'm not sure if there's a sequel, but I like how it ended kind of open. I would really like to see more of this world and Brian along with Daniel's son at this point. If there is a sequel, let me know. But now at this point, with the movie over, we'll go ahead and we'll bring the spoiler-free people back in and speak just on what this movie does well and bring up a few points that I didn't like that much. First of all, you already know, cinematography, 10 out of 10, absolutely insane. Camera angles and shots are some of the best I have ever seen in a movie. Like, I don't know if it's just the landscape or what, but the way that the movie is filmed, especially on that true film camera, makes me feel like I'm looking at a fantastical world. It kind of reminds me of, if you've ever looked at the show Wild Thornberrys on Nickelodeon, it really reminds me of like almost a cartoon. I really cannot say enough about it. Second part is the acting. I also thought it was stellar. Line delivery was near perfect. Body acting was really good. Everyone did a great job of conveying their emotions into the story. I can't think of a single moment where I thought that the acting was less than great. It feels like an evolution of Night of the Living Dead in a different setting. It has a slow pacing and a burn of the zombie apocalypse. There's no need for the zombies to get progressively hard to kill because they pulled this off so well. The sheer number and unstoppable nature of the undead is enough of a threat, and this movie will show you that. Don't get me wrong though, I love sprinting zombies. I think that the horror is different though. Like with a sprinter, I think of them as a nightmare scenario scary, where it's like, oh, this is the worst case of anything that could possibly happen. Shamblers kind of have that slow burning, like there is absolutely no hope, no way you can escape, nothing. It's horror, just there's a lack of anything to look forward to. It's just the end. You might be able to kill every single zombie that comes at you, but if you let your guard down, it's the end of you. The film portrays that really well. I don't really have a lot of negatives to say about the film. You occasionally see scenes that are like basically inevitable in zombie movies, such as someone like letting themselves get eaten, or the lady on the plane that just made a guy die. That was kind of weird. But the movie itself has a really nice pace to the point where when you see a scene like that, it doesn't stick out so much to the point where it's all you think about. Like, if you see someone basically put their arm in a zombie's mouth, you think that's kind of stupid, but then you see it a million times and you're like, this is stupid. You see this maybe once if there's 30 minutes, that's when it would happen. Like, you don't see it enough for it to really kill your immersion, and it doesn't happen long enough for you to really even think about it unless you've seen it a few times or you're just going through and analyzing it like I did. There's absolutely no sort of like infinite ammo. Everyone is very aware of ammo being limited and not being able to shoot it. There's also just a good sense of danger. Like, no matter where they go, there is a horde of undead just endlessly trudging towards them. But I mean, end of the day, if I had to give this movie a number rating, I would say it's probably a 9 or a 10. Like, I cannot find flaws. If you went and you watched it and watched the analysis, let me know any thoughts that you had on it. Let's talk about some theories. Hit the comments. Tell me what your opinion is. Maybe rate it yourself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you enjoyed. This has been Achilles with I Hate Media, and I hope you all have a great day.